Who you are now is not the same you that is going to achieve your greatest and loftiest goals. I mean, think about it in your life. Think about the last time that you've accomplished something incredible for yourself, whether it was a specific milestone with your business. Maybe you got promoted into a specific position at work. Maybe you found the relationship or the love of your life, whatever it is. Think about the achievement. And then ask yourself the question, would me, even 1 year prior, have had the skills, the attitude, the mindset, or the identity necessary in order to make that achievement possible? And very likely you're saying, no, I had to become better. I had to improve in a specific skill. I had to think about things in a different way. I had to meet the right person. Whatever it is, the you are now is not the you that will achieve your goals. And today we're going to talk about how you can shift your identity to achieve even your greatest goals in life. And to do that, we're going to be talking with a very special guest. She is a friend of mine. We've known each other now for several months. Time has flown. Her name is Mindy Hebner. And I'm going to give you the scoop on Mindy. She's accomplished so much in her time as a coach and throughout her entire career. And we're going to talk about the secrets that she has that will help you to shift your identity to greater success in life or business. But you know the fee for the broadcast. The only thing we ask you is we're not going to show you sponsors. We're not going to show you ads. The only thing we ask is if and when you take away something from this conversation with Mindy and myself, share this show with just one person who could also use these insights. That's it. You're the reason the show has grown the way it has. I'm grateful for you for being the best part of the Be Better team. So without further ado, let's talk to Mindy Hebner about identity. So for those who don't know Mindy Hebner is an intuitive mindset mastery coach, an NLP practitioner, a certified health, life, and success coach, and a clinical hypnotherapist. Super cool. Mindy knows rewiring your brain is the key to unlocking your magic so that you can create a soul-aligned business and an extraordinary life. Mindy, it is a pleasure to have you on the broadcast. Finally, we made it happen.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to share with your community and to be a part of it.
One thing I loved about you when we first met is sometimes, we meet new people and you immediately have a gauge on how the vibe of the conversation is going to go. And it's not a good or a bad thing. Sometimes I meet people and they're just, they're chill, they're relaxed, they're just going with the flow. And then you kind of just naturally fit that mold, right? Mm-hmm. You just kind of become that. But that's when we jumped on a call, immediately just the vibrance, like right now, the vibrance, the enthusiasm, the energy, it's the energy. Like I felt it through the Zoom screen. And I was like, no matter where this conversation goes, her and I are aligned and we are going to have one hell of a conversation.
Exactly. A total same exact thing. I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. Boom. The frequency was just right on, right? Like the vibration was amazing.
Have you always been this energetic? Like, has this version of you right now, like I said at the beginning, like has this person, Mindy Hebner, have you always been this way, energetic and vibrant and full of energy? Like, tell me about that.
Yes. And right. Always growing, realizing like, when people tell you, oh, you're too much, like, well, you're just not my people. You're just not my people. And so I think that takes, I always joke that one of my superpowers is that I am confident to a fault. And so I'll just charge right in and, figure it out kind of a thing. And so I figured that out throughout my life as well. When someone says you're too much or, oh, I can't, I'm like, okay, we're just not, we're not aligned, right? And that's okay. So yeah, probably. I've always been this way. I've just learned how to fine tune it.
Where does that confidence come from? Like, did that come from a certain person, certain training, certain roles? Like, where did that come from?
I am an old soul. I have done this thing many times and it just is. I know that I'm going to figure it out. I want to dive deep into something, hence all the certifications, right? Like I want to go deep into it so I can have it figured out. And I've realized that is because then I can help you move quicker. Like I've already made the mistakes. I've already taken the wrong turns. And so in the sweet spot, I can move you along. And that builds confidence. And I teach and do things continually to grow self-esteem, grow self-confidence. And so when I'm teaching it, you can't help but, continually step into it.
Well, let me tell you from an outside perspective, something that sticks out to me. So you mentioned all your certifications. You even mentioned you going through, you're on TikTok now. So everyone listening, I'm just going to plug it right now, shameless plug, because you need to
Thank you.
follow Mindy. Go on TikTok if you have it. And if you don't, download it. I need to download it myself. And follow Mindy Hebner on TikTok. She's growing to 1,000 followers, so she can go live and she could use your support, but you're going to love the message that she shares as well. But something that sticks out to me, and this is where I believe confidence comes from, especially after speaking to a friend of mine who's also been on the podcast. His name is Jacob Craig. He's an author. He's his own podcast host, all those things. And he says that he believes confidence comes down to doing the reps. The reps is an acronym. So R is reflection, right? What is it that you want to do? Reflection every day in the form of learning, in the form of growing. The E in rep is education. And the P is taking what you've reflected on, taking what you've learned and putting it into action and into practice. And that's what the P stands for, doing the reps. And it's very clear to me that you're constantly reflecting, you're constantly educating, and you're constantly practicing. It took me a long time before I invested in the first course that I took. And it was several thousand. So I know it's probably more than many people invest in their first course, but I was going all in. And this was in 2019. This is how I started my business. And you have invested in yourself in many different capacities and certifications and learning. Even with TikTok, like you didn't just join and try to figure it out, maybe at the very, very beginning, just to get your feet wet, but you invested in furthering your own success and your own growth. And that learning is what I believe gives you confidence, that ability to know inside that no matter what it is, no matter what goal you want, you simply need to learn the right skills and put them into practice in order to go from where you are to where you want to be.
Agreed. We have all the resources we need inside us. Like this is my battle cry is rewire your brain so that you can unlock your magic. You have everything you need inside you, including the resource to say, I need a coach. I get to have a coach. We think that as we grow and evolve, right? These are new things. And while the knowledge is new, the magic is right here. You are the human who will evolve, and you just get to keep rewiring and tapping into that deeper well of now I know I need this coach. Now I know I get to bless and release this version of me, like you talked about, right? And I'm going to take the good with me, and I'm going to leave the things that no longer serve me. I'm just going to keep evolving into this next level of me. But my magic, like that doesn't change.
Yeah, well said, 100%. Now, when it comes to rewiring your brain, okay, what are you helping people rewire their brain to? Like, what is the quote unquote success circuitry? Which actually, that sounds really cool. Like,
are you gonna let somebody trademark?
like, what is that one thing, or does it change with each person? Like, what is the success circuitry? What's it look like?
You cannot out hustle your beliefs. So when you've got limiting beliefs, we get to rewire them so that you're not continually trying. Like I just got this hamster wheel thing. If you believe that you have to work 24/7 in your business in order to be successful, you'll have to work 24/7 in your business, and you might not even reach success. Because we all know you don't have to work 24/7 for the rest of your life to be successful in your business. You can't out hustle your belief then that tells me if you think 24/7, it's got to be hard. It's got to be a grind. You can't out hustle those things. The way your brain works, it lets in the proof of what you believe, of what is in your consciousness. So if you think the thought habitually, this has got to be hard. It's got to be hard work to be successful. It becomes a belief. Not only I am a hard worker, but things are hard, right? And that equals success. You are so powerful. You create habits that prove it to yourself. Your brain deletes, distorts, and generalizes based on what you believe. So if this is what you believe, it will be virtually impossible to see the proof that you get to rest and that rest breeds productivity. It will be very difficult to see the proof because It's not in your filter. It hasn't come into your consciousness yet. You can only see what you can see, because so much comes at us. The statistics change, but let's just say 70 to 80,000 bits of data, information coming at you in a day. You can process 5 to 7. So your brain's got to have a filter: delete, distort, and generalize based on your beliefs. It uses your beliefs as this sorting system, and it proves to you you're always winning the game you're playing. It proves it to you all the time.
That's fascinating.
You're that powerful.
It's absolutely true, though. I'm reading this book called The Man Who Tasted Words. And I recently discovered the science section at Barnes and Noble, which makes me feel really smart. But I know that's not the case. At least, yeah, I'm getting there. But this book, just the cover stuck out to me, and it's about very similar to what you said. We have this filter that we are experiencing the world. Like, even what we see is being created by our brain based on the rays of light that are being reflected in, whatever the actual science is.
All of it. Yes.
But your experience right now in looking at your computer screen and having this conversation with me is very different than my experience looking back at you. Like, the way that I see you, the way that you see me, the way that we see ourselves is very different than the way that other people see us. The scenery that we see is very different. If we're looking out a window, like Jim Rohn famously said, you can look out a window and two people can see two different things. You can see the beautiful sunset on the other side of the window, or the other person will see the specks of dirt that line the crack of the window. And it's like very fascinating how we can look at the same things, experience something very similar, yet have it be completely different, just based on the filtering system that is the beliefs that we carry and have most likely adopted from very, very early in our life, maybe before we even have our earliest conscious memories.
Agreed. Beliefs come from there. They come from modeling what we've seen. They come from world constructs. And we are so amazing at just making a decision and then letting that color. I use this example all the time. When someone cuts you off in traffic, probably your first thought, keep it PG, what a jerk, right? And yet, when we cut someone off in traffic, are we a jerk? Does this now mean that we're a jerk? Well, no, it means we maybe weren't paying attention. We got distracted. We are having a bad day. They were in our blind spot. It can mean a million things, but here's what we do. We make a decision, we decide, and now we use this paintbrush. Anytime someone cuts me off in traffic, it means they're a jerk. End of discussion. And so that's where beliefs also, where we bring them in. One of my favorite questions to ask clients is, well, when did you decide that? When did you decide that anyone that cuts you off in traffic is a jerk? Like, when did you decide that this had to be so hard? Growing a business, having an extraordinary life is going to require work. I'm not saying that you're just sitting, meditating, and it's all just coming at you, right? Here's the difference. You get to find joy and ease in it. It is not all like, uphill battle for the rest of your life, because no one would want that then, right? That doesn't sound extraordinary. That doesn't sound soul aligned. So you get to create and then find that joy and ease in what you're creating.
So how is there a set of beliefs that are the right beliefs? Like, do the right beliefs exist, or do you simply adopt beliefs that serve you more in the pursuit of what you are going for?
Exactly. You adopt beliefs in the pursuit of more of what you're going for. And a universal belief that would serve you in this pursuit: everything is happening for me, not to me. And so it's those rewires, it's those new neural connections that make the difference. Talk about coloring, talk about how you see something. Right? Some people, an obstacle could be an adventure for some people, right? And so this is where the rewire comes in, and this is where the difference comes in are you achieving what you desire and deserve? And the answer is yes, when you are continually looking for the proof that you can, you are, you deserve it, you're capable, all those things.
Okay, this is fascinating. So I love the 1,000-foot view on this. Let's say I'm somebody who, and this is absolutely true, and it must be true that all of the beliefs that I have are not absolutely serving me, and I know that to be the case. Let's say that I come to you and I say, Mindy, I'm looking to experience more success in my business. When it comes to the belief side, do you first look for empowering beliefs to adopt, or do you first dive in to find the beliefs that we carry that aren't serving us? Like what would it look like if I came and worked with you? How would you help me dive into that?
Typically, we start with what's the belief, and it's a limiting belief, because you can recognize really quickly where you're stuck. Here's what's vital in achieving what we want, and this might sound so like, well, duh. We get to know what we want so clearly that we dive into a swimming pool of it. Like it permeates every cell of my body. Not just what I want, not just my goals, outcomes, dreams, who I get to be, right? My identity. And that is so clear. And when that is clear, then we can clearly see the places that trip us up. And so rewiring those limiting beliefs, the ones that are keeping us from stepping more and more, embracing more and more that identity to have those beautiful milestone outcomes, that's the difference maker. Now, do we work on empowering beliefs? Absolutely. So we'll swap it. We'll get rid of the limiting belief, and I'll even do it on a scale of 1 to 10. Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being this is a lie, 10 being this is gospel. Where does this belief fall? And so the limiting belief, if it's over a 5, like a 6 or a 7, we work on it. If it's a 5 or a 4, I'm like, this is not the belief. Let's go deeper. What is the actual belief? When people are at a 10, like it's the perfect spot to just crack it open. And we start to then, okay, well, what meaning did you get? When did you decide this? What was the meaning that you gave to this? And then when we can see that there can be so many other meanings to something that we were just seeing one meaning that wasn't serving us, we weren't learning from it at all. We just decided, right? Now, all of a sudden, when we reframe and we open up to all these other meanings, literally that belief just like cracks open. It just goes, oh, it doesn't have nearly the power over me that I was letting it have, because I just had this tunnel vision towards it had one meaning. And so then I'll ask again, okay, well, who would you be without this belief? What would open up to you? Limiting beliefs also they protect us, right? Air quotes, they protect us. We think so many people, so many of the clients that I work with and just people that I talk to in general, when I'm doing interviews, anything like that, there's the belief that, perfectionism like serves like, oh, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect. This is a protection. And what we think is protecting us from failure is actually protecting us from success. And so when we unpack that, right? Who would you be without this belief? What would open up to you? And now what's a more empowering belief that you get to believe about yourself? Which is very similar to starts as an affirmation, right? Who would I be with a more empowering belief moving me towards what I do want?
Oh man, that's so powerful. It's the confirmation bias of what we believe. We look for more things that will help us to cement that same belief. But what you're talking about is also the story that we're telling ourselves every single day of why things are the way that they are, how they came to be that way. And we're just in this perpetual cycle of constantly affirming the same belief over and over until one day we decide, okay, I want more. And I'm going to work with someone like you who can help me find these fallacies that I have and help me improve them, because we're all malleable. We all have the neuroplasticity to learn new things and believe new things. And that in itself is a belief, right? I have the neuroplasticity to learn anything. Like I could go pick up piano if I wanted to and learn how to play the piano. I could learn business, everything. It's the science of achievement, right? So we've assumed up until this point that we know what these limiting beliefs are. Okay. But for someone who's like, wow, this is really shining a light on why my life has been the way it's been for the longest time. Like, I've been in several failing relationships that just happen to look the same. The people just have different names. Like, why does this keep happening over and over? Or the patterns and stories that we find ourselves in the work and the corporate environment, how we always look for what's greener on the other side. We're never happy with where we are. We're constantly hopping jobs. Those are limiting beliefs. They are stories that we're living in. So how would you begin to help somebody find and uncover, as if they're at the beach and they're scraping off the sand and they find something really cool? How do we find the limiting beliefs so that we can even begin this process?
One, I will say that this is another superpower of mine, bringing the unconscious conscious. I just have a 5-minute conversation with you and I can hear the limiting beliefs just in the words that you use. Words carry so much power. They either give us energy or they take it away. How I teach other people to recognize. So anyone listening, look at a disempowering habit in your life right now. What's a habit that you have that you're like, that really doesn't serve me? Like, you know what your habits are. Maybe you stay up too late. Maybe you I don't know, skip your workouts all the time. Maybe whatever it is, right? Whatever the disempowering habit is, where you're not showing up for yourself. And you're just like, yeah. When you recognize that disempowering habit, you've now recognized that there's a limiting belief in there about what you deserve, about who you get to be, about what's possible for you, about what would happen if you were successful, because lots of people fear success without realizing they fear success. We self-sabotage because with this new identity, like, if I'm no longer the party girl, right? Then who will I be? Because this is my identity. So then we create these disempowering habits to self-sabotage. We can see it when we set new goals. About 5 weeks in, 4 to 5 weeks in, when we set a new goal, we start to self-sabotage. It just is how it works, because we start to get a little bit fearful about who will I be once I do this. We're so comfortable, even if we don't like it, in our identity, that when we start to shift that, the brain is literally like, danger, Will Robinson. We want to stay in the known. We want to stay in the known, you know?
That fear brain is helpful and not helpful at the same time. Like, if we didn't have that fear, then we probably wouldn't be alive, right? That fear is literally saying, oh, be careful, Mindy. Like, you're going too far. Who knows what's on the other side of this mountain? Who knows what's on the other side of this hill? But it's that other side of the brain, the same side that recognizes you have these limiting beliefs, that says, well, what's on the other side might be unknown, but it might be worth it too. Like, this one shift in your belief could be the difference between you being full-time with your business, you rising up into leadership, you making this relationship that you're in the greatest relationship that you've ever had in your life. So now that we are aware of the limiting belief, now that we have decided, okay, well, what if I could change this into any empowering belief that I wanted to? What could I possibly change it into? Now comes the time where we shift the belief, which in turn shifts our identity. So how do you help somebody shift the belief? Like, how long does it take to shift a belief? I know I'm asking you like a loaded question here, but I'm learning a lot here, because we've never talked about this on the show. This is very valuable. Like, how do we shift the belief, and how long does it take to see that change?
Sometimes it's literally instantaneous. You can see it take over someone, like, oh my gosh, that is done. Like, in my client calls, under 15 minutes, a belief will shift. Boom, boom. Every time, no. Most of the time, yes. Because we take it out and look at it for the truth of what it is and how it is stopping us from getting where we want. Now, limiting beliefs also, if we are not fully bought in to what we get to be, do, and have, like I said, if dive into a swimming pool so that nothing is stopping me from achieving this identity, this outcome that is a beautiful milestone along the way. If I am not completely tied to this, I'm going to let the limiting beliefs win. This is why in my work, always one of the first things we do is, well, who do you want to be? and we ask about 7 whys deep about who do you want to be. And this is usually where I lay down the question why. Why is really helpful until it's not helpful. So pretty much anytime you say to someone, why, the next words are because, and then it goes into a story, like you said, right? So when we're asking about a dream and a vision, why and because are very helpful, right? Well, why do you want to go full time in your business? Because that's going to give me freedom. Well, what is having freedom going to do for you? Why is that so important? Well, because when I have freedom, then I can, and we get to the core of who they want to be. Now, when we're talking about a limiting belief, and a limiting belief comes up, instead of saying, well, why do you believe that, Brandon? Because the first thing you're going to say is because, and you're going to tell that story, right? You're going to tell that well-rehearsed, emotional building story. Instead, we say, pause. What is making me believe this? What? When did I decide this? How can I shift out of it? Could there be a different thing? Like we just move away from why, because we sort of pattern interrupt our brain from just immediately telling the because story.
Yeah, and going back to what you mentioned, like even asking, does this serve me? Okay, cool. So you've got this experience of, somebody cut you off in traffic. It was their fault. Therefore, everyone who cuts me off, it's their fault. I should be angry because of this, right? And you start to ask yourself, well, is that actually helping me to believe that? Because there could be another story, right? Maybe that guy really had to use the bathroom and he's like just cutting in front of you. It's nothing to do with you. This is why I love the book by Don. I think his name is
Ruiz.
Yeah.
The 4 Agreements.
Oh, I freaking love you. Didn't even know where I was going with that. I just said the first name and you took it right there. I love that. Yeah. He says like, don't make assumptions.
Yeah.
And I make a lot of assumptions on a daily basis.
It's human.
And I'm catching it more now, but I am constantly assuming things. And he says, don't make assumptions and also don't take things personally. That's the second of the 4. And I take a lot of things personally, and I'm trying to get better with it. And I am improving, but I'm now recognizing and being conscious and aware of that. And I'm saying to myself, I'm taking this personally right now. This has nothing to do with me. And like you said, it's that quick. You can see the difference. If you were looking in the mirror, you could see the difference. And even how you look once you don't take it personal and you realize there could be 5 billion other realities at play here than just the reality that I'm experiencing right now.
Exactly. What you are saying is fact, right? Is a truth. It's a truth. It's one meaning. It's not every single meaning. And don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, right? Like we also do that continually. There is no room for shame or guilt when we are showing up in a disempowering way or have a disempowering thought. That will not serve you. What you get to do is get really curious and just say, this is another question that my clients know, like they hear it from me and then they use it for themselves all the time. Who am I being? Who am I being right now? Am I being the Brandon who has, I don't know, what's an amazing, downloads on YouTube, subscribers, like whatever. Am I being the Brandon who has 78 million subscribers right now to my YouTube channel? No. Okay. So we're clear, right? I'm not being him. What's keeping me from being him? I just don't have the energy. I just want to sit in this for a minute. Okay, sit in it. There's just no room for shame or guilt. You get to then say, all right, how long do I want to be here in this place of not embodying the evolved version of me that I deserve? And okay, now I'm going to move, or now I'm going to go to bed because I'm just done for the day, right? Or now I'm going to pattern interrupt, or now I'm going to completely remove my attention from this thing that I am struggling to get a handle on. I'm just going to completely move my attention to something else because I can't stop the momentum of feeling this disempowered way. So I'm going to shift. I'm going to pattern interrupt. There's just no room for shame or guilt ever. We always just get to get really curious about what's keeping me from doing what I said I would do, from being who I already am on the inside, and I want to embody more.
Yeah, and this is fun work to do as well, because if you don't have another version of you that you're looking to become, if you're not asking yourself these questions, then you just get stuck into the same routine that you're in constantly. Like asking yourself this question and these questions is it's exciting because you realize I am like that ball of clay and I get to continue to chip away at the clay to make it into whoever I want it to be. Like, I love that question of who am I being? That's a powerful question. And you've said a lot of incredible insights, and people are probably wondering, okay, cool. So who is Mindy, right? So my question for you, rather than just ask, tell me about you, did you have a limiting belief in your life that stayed with you for years and years and years, and once you changed it, it really helped you to change the trajectory of your entire life?
Yes. And I still have many limiting beliefs that I don't know about yet, right? Because new level, new devil, like they'll come in when they come in. They come in when we start to expand, we start to recognize them. A major limiting belief that I had a epiphany on in maybe 2015, 2014, somewhere in there, was that rest equaled lazy. And so I would have always said, I'm a type A, I'm extremely driven. I still am. I was extremely successful in my business. I was in sales for many, many, many years. And I was on the constant hustle train. And finally, I had this moment of, this is not how I want to live anymore. This is not sustainable. I'm tired. I'm successful. Yeah. And I have a good life and, all those things. And this gets to feel way more aligned in my soul. And it was just this moment of, okay, well, this is a lie. Like, resting does not mean I'm lazy. And it was a belief that I had to my core. It was what was modeled unconsciously around me. Like my dad, workaholic, right? And so my husband, totally like this, which is probably what partly brought us together, this very driven, success oriented, we're getting there no matter what. But this rest is lazy is so disempowering.
How did you find that, by the way? How did you notice that you believed that rest is lazy? Because I relate to you, by the way. Like, I'll take a nap a month, but whenever I even take the nap in the middle of the day once a month, I'm like, oh my God, no one can know about this. This is a waste of my day, but it feels so good. And I would experience that guilt and shame. Like, you're helping me find that I still believe this. Like, I still do. And maybe we can work on this, but like,
Yes.
how did you find this yourself?
It literally was this crack open moment. The sales business that I was in, my division, closed its doors, and it was okay, time to reinvent. And the reinvention is not going to include this 24/7 hustle. It's not. I'm not going to have it. I could feel the shifts in me. I was more tired. I was less energetic, less willing to give everything that I have, because if we're run down, then there's nothing. That it's so cliche. You can't pour from an empty cup, right? It's the truth. It's the truth. I mean, it's cliche because it's true. So just this recognition of the guilt and the shame, right? And it was, for me, it was an incredibly, and still a little bit sticky journey with my amazing husband of over 30 years, who,
Wow.
working to rewire that brain as well, to know that you get rest. Now, my belief, rest breeds productivity and creativity.
Wow.
Hands down. Like there's no, it's proven science. It is proven science. And taking a day to lay on the couch and watch Netflix is not lazy. One day is not lazy. And taking time, I program time into every working day for like getting outside when the weather permits, and meditation, and just like walking away, going and grabbing a coffee with someone. Like, I program in more and more and more, because here's what happens, right? We're always winning the game we're playing. So the more I programmed in that white space, that that space to breathe and move, the more creative downloads came in, the more on it I was, the more successful I became. Literally, like, that just exploded. Then the way that I could show up, I could absolutely work less, achieve more, and make more.
Wow. That's unbelievable. Thank you for sharing that, by the way,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that was recent history. I mean, that's within the past decade.
Yes.
So your husband, okay, what were his thoughts as he observed you making this shift? Like, what did that look like?
It's difficult for him still. It's still very difficult for him. He, you know, he works outside of the home, so I work in the home, and he doesn't see what happens all day. And partly this was me. So, hey, what'd you do today? In my brain was like, okay, I got to say a million things, or he's gonna say, well, that was lazy, or like, that wasn't, you know what I mean? Must be nice. These were also things that I was putting on him, like, so was some of it coming from him? Yeah. And was some of it coming from me? Yeah. And so now I just, when he says what, and he's just being conversational, like, hey, how was your day? What did you do today? There are times when I flip back into, oh, I got to say a lot of things, because really, like, I took the day off, or I just had one client call and then I just screwed around all day, because I've created that container, and this is the place I am working on. Him realizing that he gets to create that container too. He's not there yet. Like, he works 60 hours a week because he wants to.
Yeah.
He's driven in that way. His identity, see, here's where identity comes in. My identity knows that rest breeds productivity. And so in my identity, like, where can we find joy and ease in this? Where can we find joy and ease? I'm constantly on the lookout for joy and ease, right? How does this get to expand me, not constrict me? And he's coming along,
Yeah. Well, it's only a matter of time before one person making massive changes inspires the other person to then make. I bet that you've influenced his subconscious in ways that aren't consciously able to be seen, but also the relationship that we have with our significant other is, very different than we have with anyone else. Like, I was even talking to my wife the other day, and this happens all the time, and it's so funny when it does. But she said something, and immediately, the flaw that I have and many people have is we go into advice giving mode. Like, oh, maybe you should try doing this or this or this. And she literally looked at me and she's like, that sounds like a good idea, but because you're the one telling me to do it, I don't think I'm going to do it.
Exactly.
And I was like, don't say no to a good thing. But she, it's all in good fun. But one person making these massive shifts, and for the person wondering, okay, well, I want my significant other to change in this way. Okay, like, the intention you have, I'm assuming, is good, right? You want good for this person. But the number one way that you can help this other person make shifts that are good for them is by focusing first on you, right? And making those shifts yourself. Like, you have to work on you. You can't change someone else. All you can do is work on you, and that alone influences another person.
Exactly. And think about how difficult we make it to change ourselves. Now you think you're going to go change someone else? Like,
that's a good point.
Talk about work. Ugh, that sounds terrible, right? That sounds like so laborious. There doesn't sound like there's going to be any joy or ease in that. Because think about how hard we battle ourselves for a change that we know, like, logically will benefit us, right? Like, you just grabbed water. Okay, so everyone watching this has been seeing me take beverages the whole time.
Yeah.
So there's people who are like, well, I'm gonna take this down 2 rabbit trails really quick. I should drink water. That's what the science says, and this, not the other. And yet they, like, buck that continually. They continue to tell themselves, like, I hate water. I don't want it. It's hard to fit it all in. I just forget, like, winning. We're always winning the game we're playing, right? 2 things in there. 1, what are the gains? Like, what would open up for you if you chose to step into the identity of a water drinker as opposed to the identity of someone who hates water? Because this is what you're doing, right? You're seeing the world through the identity of, I hate water. So what would open up for you? Well, I'll tell you, hydration is literally the key to everything.
Yeah.
Your brain works better, your focus works better, your body, your joints. We only have the water that we put inside. Like, we don't make more water inside our body. It's only what we put in it. Coffee doesn't count. I'd love for it too, because I love coffee. Water, water for our. So if you want to be more focused, you want to look better, you want to feel better, like you find the gain that makes you say, okay, that's for me. Like, I can figure out this water thing now. The other rabbit trail, should. You said it when you talked about your wife as well. Here's where the power in words comes in. Should is could with shame smeared on it. No one wants to be told what to do. No one wants to be told, you should do this. The moment I hear these words, I'm like, shut down. I'm not listening, which is my own toxic trait, right? And I don't want to hear should. I want to hear, because when we should on ourselves, like, this is a very, you can see it in the female world very much. Someone who identifies as feminine is like, oh, I should do this, I should do that. I carry a lot of guilt around shoulds, right? Mm-hmm. When my clients start using this word, I'm like, okay, let's do a word swap here. Next time, from now on, in the future. There is no shame in any of those phrases. Should is very shame-filled. And so when we say, next time, I'm going to think about it like this. From now on, I'm going to do this for myself instead. And in the future, I'm going to really consider this as a possibility, not should. Like, that feels yucky. The other one is have to and get to. This is another huge word swap. So feel the energy and the difference in should and from now on, in the future, and next time. Like, so much possibility in those, right? Like, they're so expansive. And it's the same thing with have to and get to. I remember the first time a client said to me, well, I have to pick up my kids. And I said, well, don't you want to? They're your kids. Do you like them? Right? You know? And she was like, well, of course. And I'm like, okay, well, then you get to. And there's just this huge talk energy about shift. When you can see something on a belief shift, all of a sudden, oh, I have choice, because this is what we all want. We all want choice. We all want possibility. We all want to know that there are options for us, whether we say that out loud or not. We want choice. We don't want to be told this is the option. I get to do this. I get to do that. When we say that, it feels like we are taking back our power in something, as opposed to giving our power away in the I have to do this.
Oh man, I love that. It's like what you just said. Next time, from now on, in the future, you could even call those like the three phrases of self-love. Because when you say I should, that's where the guilt and the shame and this gives you the ability to do it in the future. But it's that energy shift between have to and get to. That's something that I started to do last year. At the beginning of last year, I listened to a podcast where someone was talking about have to and then switching that to get to. And it's gotten to the point now where I've gotten really good at it. And I've recognized when I say have to, I immediately notice it. And I say, no, I don't have to. I get to. Every day I probably do this once a day. And by the way, you made me very thirsty talking about water. And the one thing I will say, I jumped on the water train when I went through the 75 hard challenge with Andy Frisella. And my philosophy is, if you want to make any change in your life, you have to make it easy for yourself to make that change, especially to build up that discipline. And Jocko Willink says discipline equals freedom, right? Build up the discipline, make it easy for yourself. I got one of these, and it's not sponsored, I promise. I told you, no sponsors. I got this iron flask, and I've been using this brand for a long time now. They're affordable. They're not giant. You can get a bigger one, but this is like, I'm bad with numbers, but I think it's like 40 or 50 ounces of water. And I refill it a few times a day, and I get most of, if not all of the water that I need for the day. And it inspires other people too, because other people are like, oh, you're getting your water in for today. Oh, I should do that. I should. Well, what if you did? Like, who would you have to be? Who would you be if you were fully hydrated each day, right? You'd have better skin. You'd have more energy. You would just feel better, and the experience of your life would be more vibrant, like you said. So it became a water commercial all of a sudden.
But this is perfect. This is a perfect segue to the next thing that I like. This is absolutely perfect. So Your brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined.
Mm.
So everybody just wrap your head around that. Doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So what if you mentally rehearsed? What if you envisioned yourself being a water drinker? What if you saw yourself and or insert whatever you want in here? Because this is some secret sauce for you to rewire your brain to start showing up exactly how you want to show up. And using water as an example is a great way. So remember, diving into a swimming pool of what I want. I want to be hydrated. What's hydration going to do for me, right? Having this very clear vision, but more than a vision. I can taste it. I can hear it. I can smell it. I can feel it. I can embody it. So now I see myself waking up in the morning. First thing I do is have a glass of water. My goal is to have 8-ounce glasses of water in the day. I see myself setting an alarm on my phone to go off every hour that says hydrate. I see a little sticky note on my bathroom mirror. I see fun. I see myself drinking out of fun. This is actually a beer glass. I see myself drinking out of fun glasses. I see myself adding strawberries. Like, show your brain how amazing you are and what gets to happen when you're hydrated, and see yourself being hydrated throughout the day. Then when you go to do this for real, your brain's like, oh, we got this. We know how to do this. We've already done it. This is mental rehearsal. This is you seeing yourself getting from A to B. Olympic. This is, now only do this if you want to have like gold medal success in your life, because this is what Olympic athletes do. This is what Michael Phelps did, and he earned a gold medal. So we see ourselves, the easiest way to mentally rehearse is see yourself from A to B. Everything's going perfectly. I'm showing up in it. I'm drinking the water. I don't know, singing my little water song, like whatever it is, right? I'm doing all the things. Side note, make your whole life a freaking experience that you want. Like find this moments to savor in it so that there is joy and ease. Like even in becoming hydrated, right? Like you get to do this. You get to do that. So mental rehearsal is A to B, perfect path. When you get like next level on your mental rehearsal, you will even do what Michael Phelps did. So of course he saw A to B, swimming the amount of, times he needed to go back and forth, being first, blah, blah, blah. He also then had plan B and plan C. And in plan C, he got water in his goggles. Oh no, there was an obstacle getting to the result that he wanted, which is real life, right? Because he had also mentally rehearsed winning with water in his goggles. When the water got in his goggles, it did not deter him.
Wow.
He still earned the gold medal. This is you, all of you listening. You're this powerful. So you get to create it in your mind and then show up in it. And the beauty is the outcome is the same. And the magic in the outcome is who you're becoming. So you're becoming the human who hydrates. So what would be a stumbling block in the day? I'm going to be in the car a really long time and I'm not going to be able to drink that much water. Okay, so I'm going to get more in the beginning or more in the end of the day. It helps your brain now go, okay, what are the options? What are the choices? Let's find a way to still get there, because this outcome is so meaningful for me. Nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to mentally rehearse how to get there. I'm going to mentally rehearse a roadblock. I'm going to mentally rehearse before I go on a podcast, live show, that even if there are technical difficulties or blah, 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 nothing is going to keep me from the outcome of like making you look good, making me look good, being your most engaged and downloaded episode. Like I set intentions before I come on and I mentally rehearse how it's going to turn out.
I love that.
Magic. This is magic for you.
It's funny you say that, because Rhonda Byrne, I read a book called The Magic by Rhonda Byrne, and it's about the law of attraction, but she gives you like actionable things that you can do every day. It's a 30-day exercise book essentially. And one of the exercises is called the magnificent outcome. And it's where I do this every day. It's where you literally write down, thank you for the magnificent outcome to, and you write down something that you have planned for that day that you want it to turn out incredibly well. Like for you, it's the podcast, whatever else, maybe a client call, maybe a big presentation you have at work, maybe dinner with your significant other, whatever it is, or with your family. And you write it down. Thank you for the magnificent outcome to. And then after you write down each one, you mentally rehearse, like what you just mentioned. And like you said, your brain doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. And you see in your mind this event that you want a magnificent outcome for before it even happens. So if it's for a great presentation at work, maybe you see everyone standing up at the end and giving you a round of applause. You see the smiling faces of people. Maybe if it's a family dinner, you see everyone around the table, maybe holding hands for a prayer at the beginning, or everyone enjoying dinner, having a great conversation, whatever it is. You mentally rehearse seeing what you want to happen in the outcome that you want. Because so often, think about even us with these big events that we have coming up, that fear brain comes into play. And we begin to automatically and habitually see the outcome that we don't want. Things crashing and burning, not winning the race, being third on the podium rather than number one or number two. Realistically, number one. You don't really want to see yourself as number two, I guess. But we're so good at seeing what we don't want to happen. What if we reversed it and intentionally decided to see what we do want to happen?
And not just see, feel, hear, taste, smell, all of it. Like make this a sensory experience. It's more than visualization. So if you're giving this presentation, right, what are you hearing afterwards? Like, Brandon, that was amazing. Oh my gosh, you had so many quotable quotes, right? Like this shifted. And what else are you hearing? And what else are you seeing? You're seeing people taking notes and looking at you and nodding and smiling. And what are you tasting? You're tasting your water because you're hydrated. And like all of the things, how are you feeling? You're feeling so confident and empowered because you know you are delivering this information that is really going to shift for people. And you're in your sweet spot. You're in the zone. Embody it. Embody it. This is going to be the game changer, is embodying the outcome. This is what's going to be the identity shifter for you.
Oh, I love everywhere we're going with this conversation. I mean, we dove into beliefs. We dove into mental rehearsal. My final follow-up to that is, like, people listening are like, okay, well, how do I incorporate this? I could do the magnificent outcome exercise, but like, what do you do? Do you intentionally put aside time every day to rehearse what's going to happen? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yes, I do. I put aside time every single day. Now, I'm a master at mental rehearsal. I've practiced for a really long time. So my mental rehearsal can go very quickly like that. When you're first starting and you're like, what do I do? I don't know. I have a guided mental rehearsal that I've created for everyone. And so it will walk you through, like, what do you get to see? What do you get to believe about yourself? What are you hearing? All of those things. The only rule for mental rehearsal, be clear on your outcome. What is your well-formed outcome? What is it that you are mentally rehearsing to? What is it that you're mentally rehearsing for? Because in order to get somewhere, we need to know where we're going, right? This is vital. Know what you want. So that's why I say I love to start small. Like, if you want to be a water drinker, if you want to get up 5 minutes earlier, if you want to start something small, because you're proving it to your brain. You're casting votes for the vision continually. You're showing your brain, like, we get to show up. We're awesome. We're rewiring, building confidence, building self-esteem, like all the things, just by doing this small mental rehearsal to show up differently. Little hinges swing big gates. So actually nothing is small. We just get to trick ourselves into thinking like, oh, I'll do this little thing. And then you'll be able to use this brush to paint everything.
Wow. Fascinating. Thank you for the offer of the guided mental rehearsal, because for those who aren't well versed in this, which we weren't taught, I don't remember a class in elementary, middle, or high school that taught how to mentally rehearse something. They'd probably think you're crazy if you talk about that, right? But the science doesn't lie. Harvard's actually done studies on mental rehearsal and visualization. Not mental rehearsal. I've never heard it put that way until you mentioned that, but they talk about visualization. But I love how you mention the idea that you incorporate all of your senses into this experience, not just the visual sense of creating a picture in your mind, but the entire body experience, so that your body remembers it once you're back in that situation. And think about how you do on something new the second time you do it versus the first time. It's just, you're double the effectiveness, right? Double the productivity. But it also helps you to feel better throughout the experience too. So is that guided mental rehearsal found at mindyhebner.com/brain?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So everyone, link in the description or the comments, depending on where you're watching or listening, mindyhebner.com/brain to grab that. It's free, that guided mental rehearsal where Mindy will literally guide you through this until you're ready to go off on your own and experience your own mental rehearsal adventure. And you can try it immediately, but it's like a muscle, right? Every day, the more you do it, the better you become. And Mindy's a master now because she's probably done it for thousands and thousands of hours.
Gosh.
And you get to do the same thing, right? It's about the journey at the same time. So, Mindy, where's the best place for us to continue this conversation with you? Where can people best find you?
You can absolutely find me on LinkedIn. And I'm, remember, growing my TikTok. I also hang out on Instagram as well. You can find me on all the socials. Like, I'm pretty good about answering my DMs and those kinds of things. So if you've got questions, definitely hit me up. It really is my battle cry, like rewire your brain. This is a movement that I'm so passionate about. You can do it. Like, you can start small and shift and truly, again, create that soul aligned business, that extraordinary life. When you rewire, you start to see things differently.
You're absolutely right. And I love thank you, by the way, for taking this in many different directions, because people have a bunch of different things they can actually grasp onto and use leaving this conversation. And thank you for your incredible energy and being here today.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Rewiring your brain is exciting. Like we said, I mean, you get to choose who you become. You get to choose the beliefs that you hold on to and incorporate into your life. And like Mindy said, you're going to be doing this at all different stages of your life. Once you reach the next level, once you get to the next chapter, and once you make that next evolution, you're going to have new limiting beliefs that make their way into your being. And you get to notice them. You get to follow the process we talked about, the step-by-step process, by the way, that we talked about in this conversation. In order to be aware of them, ask yourself, is this serving me? What is the proof? Where did I discover this? Asking yourself, what is a more empowering belief? And then putting new proof and new references and trying on the new belief and incorporating that one in your life, along with the mental rehearsal and everything else we talked about. So go back and listen to the part that you need the most in your life. Re-listen to it over and over again, right? Repetition is the mother of skill. And visit MindyHebner.com to see the hub of all that is Mindy Hebner. But go follow her on TikTok, her other socials, wherever you hang out. Links are going to be in the description. I'll make it easy for you. Drink your water, not sponsored, okay? But I use Iron Flask. And be sure to share the conversation with at least one person, as long as you took something away from it. If you learned something cool, share the episode. As always, thank you for watching and tuning in. And until we talk again next time, continue to be better.